Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox. I would like to welcome you to the Sunday Book Review. The Sunday Book Review is the series where I discuss books which impact the compliance practitioner, the legal professional, and the business professional. I hope you will enjoy this episode. January 26, 2020. First up, a book that may not appear to be really about compliance, but I thought it would be interesting for the compliance practitioner to read Mengele, a new biography of the Angel of Death by David Marwell. Perhaps the most notorious war criminal of all time, Joseph Mengele, was the embodiment of bloodless efficiency and passionate devotion to a grotesque worldview. Aided by the role he had assumed in the works of popular culture, Mengele has come to symbolize the Holocaust itself, as well as the failure of justice that allowed countless Nazi murderers and their accomplices to escape. Whether as the demonic doctor who directed mass killings or the elusive fugitive who escaped capture, Mengele has loomed so large that even with conclusive proof, many refuse to believe he is dead. The book describes the international search for the Nazi doctor in 1985 that ended in a cemetery in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and the dogged forensic evidence that produced overwhelming proof that it was indeed Mengele in the grave. Next up, the Enlightenment that failed explores the growing rift between Enlightenment trends and initiatives that appealed exclusively to elites and those aspiring to enlighten all of society by raising mankind's awareness, freedoms, and educational levels generally. The author explains why democratic and radical secularization tendency of the Western Enlightenment, after gaining some notable successes during the revolutionary era of America and France most particularly, ultimately failed. He argues that a populist, Robespierre's tendency, sharply at odds with democratic values and freedom of expression, gained an ideological advantage in France, and the negative reaction provoked a more general anti-Enlightenment reaction to surging intellectualism combined with forms of religious revival that largely undermined the longings of the deprived, underprivileged, and disadvantaged, and ended up helping the conservative anti-Enlightenment ideologues to dominate the scene. It certainly has parallels in 2020 today, so it's a fascinating historical study. Next up, another biography of Machiavelli, this one by Patrick Boucheron, and in a series of poignant vignettes, this prominent historian makes a compelling case for Machiavelli as a unjustly maligned figure with valuable political insights that resonate as strongly as today, and they did in their time. It was Machiavelli's luck to be disappointed by every statesman he encountered throughout his life, which is why he wrote The Prince. If the book endeavors to disassociate political action from common morality, the question remains, not why, but for whom did Machiavelli write this book? For princes or for those who wanted to resist him? Once again, another book and figure in history that I think has a lot of application to America 2020. And finally, on a little bit different note, people who have listened to my podcast series, 12 O'Clock High, a podcast on business leadership, know about my love of Antarctic explorers. Well, this one is a modern-day explorer, Colin O'Brien, who had a gripping 932-mile solo trip across the Antarctic, which he writes about in this book. It's a fascinating story of one man's quest after being alone with his own thoughts for nearly 2 months, gripped by fear and doubt, yet he was able to push on and achieve this most wondrous human achievement that had never been accomplished. So it's a great book of inspiration. It's a great book of working through some of the harshest conditions known to mankind and doing it largely while having to play inside your head. So I thought it would be a great way for the compliance practitioner to look at what might appear to be an intractable problem and find a way to move forward. Hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Daily Compliance News, which is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks again.